These icons here, pretty self-explanatory. Print this, it prints a copy of your invoice, which is identical to the same as printing this. Prints a copy. Print is here. So if you've got your invoice opened up, you just click this straight away and it will print your invoice to whatever the default printer setting is. This here will print 2 copies. This here prints 1 copy. This here prints 2 copies. Now if you have a look there, it's got a W for Word. It allows you also to print to a Word document. Here you'd normally click this icon if you're clicking to a printer. In my case, I click to a PDF printer. Now if you don't have the facility to print to a PDF with your computer, you don't have anything installed, there is a way you can print to PDFs. Now PDFs are commonly used to attach to invoices or attach to emails. Now the difference with the PDF is, and this Word document, is this. If I print this now to a PDF, the idea of a PDF is this, is it will print the invoice as it would appear if it was printed to the printer. I.e. with all the boxes, it looks nice, it looks pretty, everything will print exactly the same way as if you printed it direct to your printer. So now I could attach that to an email and email to my client if I wanted to. Here, if I click this one, it saves the invoice to your hard drive as a Word document. However, you lose a lot of the quality because this particular program is incapable of saving the invoice to a Word document with all the nice, great graphics on the screen. When I'm saying graphics, I'm saying a line is a graphic. It's incapable of doing that. There is no way to save to a Word document from within the program, so it saves it as a rich text file. And rich text files are just files that are read by numerous programs, such as a Word program, or your Microsoft Word can read a rich text file. So it saves it in a file that's readable by Microsoft Word. So if I click this here, the advantage this has over the top of printing to a PDF printer is this. If I click to a PDF printer, it instantly pops up and it tries to save it as the name that we've given the report. In Easy As, there's in excess of 20 different invoice reports. Everything that's different on the screen is an actual different report that's been previously generated specifically to a standard form. So when you're saving your document to your hard drive, you normally have to rename this. So in this case here, I'd go, right, well, what is this? This is invoice number 1008. So I'd go print, and I would type in invoice 1008. And it would save that to my hard drive, wherever I've told it to my documents, in this case as invoice 1008. And with this PDF printer, it automatically opens it up for me as it prints it. Okay, what is the difference between that and this? If I click print here, it takes off and it saves that instantly. Where has it saved it? It saves it to wherever you've told the computer that your settings are. If you have a look here, whatever you've told the computer that your accounting settings are, if you go to setup, you can hear change print directory. You can tell it to save all your invoices or any report that is printed by Easy As that is naturally saved to your hard drive, which is 90% of the reports anyway, that can be printed to your hard drive. It will save it to your My Documents folder as the default. If you don't want it saved there, you can click here and you can change the default location you save your reports. In this case here, I'm going to just save my reports. Well, I'm not going to save it there. I'm just going to create a dummy place here. Let's just save my reports. I'm going to save them. Give me a second. I'm going to create a location. I'm going to create a location on the computer to save my reports to. So I haven't created a folder yet, so I need to do that. I don't know what's going on here. I've got to close that. Close that. Minimize that. I need to create a location on my computer. I just want to show you that I can do this. I'm just going to save it here. So if I wanted to save all my Easy As reports to one specific location, I've created my folder. You can go ahead and tell Easy As where is the default folder. And I'm going to browse to my default folder. Once I've located the default folder, obviously you need to understand how to do that in Windows, create your folders. We can't go into that. If I can find it, Easy As reports. So once I click on that, I click OK, it's now put it here for me. Obviously, if you knew what it was, you could just type that in. You don't have to use the browse facility. So once it's done that and I click close, now each time I print an invoice now, it's going to save it to that folder and I'll show it to you. I'm going to click that and print that again, that invoice. I'm going to jump in here. If I click print, it now takes off and it's now saved that to that directory, to that folder. If I jump over here and open that folder, just to show you, there it is. Now what's the difference? When it's saved that rich text file, see how it ends in an RTF? It doesn't end in DOC, which is the normal word, but see how my Word program's labeled it as Word because it knows that that can be read by Word. It's automatically saved it as invoice 1008, so it's automatically saved that for you, so you don't have to number it. There is another video within the Easy As videos that goes in depth about printing to PDF files and what all these numbers at the front of them and that are. I advise you to watch that video because it's going to explain everything more in depth and it makes much more sense. So I'm just doing it briefly here. Now if I open this invoice up, you'll notice that it is not as pretty as the previous invoice I printed to a PDF. See that? See how it's lost a lot of the nice graphics? It's still a valid invoice, and if you're happy with these types of invoices and you just want it to save all your invoice numbers and you don't want to have to do any extra work, you just save it, attach it to an invoice, attach it to an email and email it to a client. Naturally, if you're not emailing, if you're handing invoices, then you'd print it to your printer and you'd end up with that nice pretty look. I know a lot of people who are just happy using this type of invoice, and that is fine. It's perfectly fine. It's a perfectly reasonably well presented invoice. So you could use that, or the difference is, see that? There's the difference. You've got the nice graphics up against this here doesn't have the graphics. If you've got a logo, this here won't print the logo. So if you want your logo, you need to have that printed using a PDF. But the same information's here. All the information's here are just not as pretty looking. Okay, so that's what the basic difference is between those particular invoices. The other valid point of printing it to this here is, of course, that if, for example, you wanted that printed to an invoice, but you also wanted to add some information. Let's say, for example, this is a client that owes a significant amount of money, and they've taken X amount of time to pay the money, and you need to add a, please pay, I'm going to get the solicitors onto you, I've contacted you on this date, this date, this date. You might want to add a letter to go with this. So naturally, you could press your Control Enter, make this part of the letter, type it all in, so you can save this to your hard drive, and you've said this is the copy of the previous invoice. That's another benefit of that. So that facility is there, so it automatically goes into a Word document, so you can automatically do whatever's required to add to it. Okay, so jumping back into the program, I don't think there's anything else I need to discuss on this screen. The only other couple of points I need to point out is this down the bottom here's got a reference area. This here is for personal use. It's not going to appear on any of your invoices when you print them. But what it does is this. Is say there's some particular additional comments that you know about this invoice but you don't want the client to see. Or it might be that you've discovered this client's an idiot. You might write on here, watch this client is a bit of a fool. That's for personal use. That's your use. No one needs to see that. So why you'd put this here is this. If you put something on the first line, see here it's got personal reference. So when you re-enter that screen at a later date to check out that invoice, you'll see it comes up here in a bit greyed area. It says personal reference. So you can look at that and go, I've put a comment on here. So I can now click that box it brings this up and comes down to here to the personal reference, and I can see what it was that I put in there. But if you don't put anything on that first line, if you type something here, it does not bring that up. So you need to have something on the first line first. At least something on the first line will activate this personal reference. So just be aware of that. So this here is just a reminder to let you know that you've got something in here, because probably for 70% of invoices, or depending on your business, you might never use this down here. So for those invoices that you do use them, if you use a one-off thing, you want to remind them when you look back at the invoice that there is a personal reference there. So when you open up the screen, you look at the invoice, personal reference, oh, what is that? Click on that, and you can quickly see the personal reference. That's all I need to point out, apart from the rounding up and rounding down. What is that for? What this facility here is a rounding up and rounding down. So what if your invoice total happened to be $854.51? You can use the round down procedure and round it down to $854.50 if you wanted to. Okay, so it just allows you to add down or up to the nearest 5 cents. It goes within 5 cents. And you can use that to add up or round down. So the invoice isn't ending in miscellaneous cents, which doesn't look good for some industries. Okay, so it just allows you to round up, round down. That's pretty self-explanatory. I think once you fiddle with that, we will work it out.